I met Jack on a Tuesday, of all days. I'd spilled coffee on my blouse in the cafe where I worked part-time between teaching third grade, and he'd laughed, offered me his handkerchief, and bought me a new latte. His smile was easy, his eyes bright, and by the next week I was telling my best friend Harper, I think he's the one. By summer, he proposed under a canopy of fairy lights in my backyard, an old pine wedding gift from my grandmother's farm, and I said yes so fast I nearly tripped over the garden hose. We decided on a small wedding, 50 guests, a sunny afternoon in early fall at the Botanical Garden, with white chairs, gauzy drapes, a string quartet, the works. We were in love, and didn't notice the first tremors of how Jack slipped from hands clasped to busy shoulders, buoyed by work and stress. Planning our wedding was a dream until it wasn't. I scoured Instagram for florists, tested 5 cake flavors in a single afternoon, and visited the Caterer 3 times until I found the menu that whispered us herb-crusted chicken, wild mushroom risotto, grilled asparagus, a decadent triple chocolate mousse. Jack mostly nodded, squeezed my hand, and murmured, "It's perfect." But Harper noticed he stopped showing up at tastings after the third, claiming he had late-night pitches. I chalked it up to pre-wedding jitters, the final stretch of his fundraising round. I didn't mind too much. I was hand-picking every detail, thrilled to watch it all come together under my watchful eye. We sent invitations 6 weeks before the date, hand-lettered vellum envelopes, gold wax seal. RSVPs trickled in, my colleagues, our mutual friends, my parents' neighbors, Jack's work buddies. When I added the final name, my Aunt Cynthia's surprise +1, I studied the slim pile of cards on my console table and marveled at how many people would witness our vows. Jack kissed me in the kitchen that evening, whispering, "You're the most incredible woman I know." I melted because I believed him. Then, 2 days before the wedding, I found Jack parked in front of his laptop, face lit by screen glow, as if I'd interrupted a secret romance. "Hey," I said gently. "Come to flower rehearsal?" He rubbed his temples. "I can't tonight. Sorry, big presentation for investors." I forced a smile. "Okay." I left him to the glow of his emails, but a small knot formed in my chest. The morning of our wedding arrived brilliantly azure. My bridesmaids, Harper, my cousin Selena, and 2 college friends, crowded around me in the hotel suite, plying me with mimosa refills, tucking my hair and adjusting my veil. "This is it," Selena said, tears in her eyes as she arranged the last hairpin. I drew a deep breath, heart fluttering like a hummingbird. "I'm so happy," I whispered. I couldn't wait to see Jack standing at the arbor, to feel his arms around me for the first time as his wife. At 1 per plan, I put on my gown, ivory lace off-shoulder sleeves. When I slipped it over my head, the room broke into cheers. "You look like a princess," Harper cried, and for a moment I believed it. I practiced my walk through the hotel chapel, each step echoing the weight of hours spent dreaming of this day. My phone rested on the dresser, an ever-present tether. My heart skipped when I saw a text from Jack. "Can't wait to see you, my love." I tapped back, "Miss you already." By 1:30 Pinwell. My father, who'd flown in from California, knelt to lace my shoes. His hand trembling, he brushed a tear. "I'm so proud of you, kiddo." I smiled, hugging him. "Love you, Dad." Suddenly my dress felt too tight, my heart too loud. My phone buzzed again. "Emergency meeting. Can't get away." "I'm sorry," my breath caught. "Emergency, this afternoon?" I thought. Best man wedding party, florists, DJ all on deck, but no time to digest. I stuffed my phone in my bouquet and said nothing, trusting his apology. The procession began. My mom, bless her soul, marched down the aisle, petals in hand. Behind her, Harper and Selena fell into step, faces wet with tears. The music swelled, and I waited with Dad at the altar for Jack. The guests stood, turning their heads, smiles bright, but no Jack, no groomsmen. Just a ripple of confusion. Then my phone buzzed again in the folds of my gown. "I can't do this. I'm sorry. Please forgive me." I froze. The tears I'd been holding cracked free. The minister cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should wait a moment." I dropped my gaze to the pedal, soft carpet, heart thunderous. The guests shifted. The photographer clicked away at thin air. My bridesmaids huddled, whispering. My dad laid a trembling hand on mine. What happened?" I shook my head, voice stifled. He canceled." I pressed my lips together as more tears came. "Wants no part of this," my voice cracked. Sorry, everyone. I let my father escort me back down the aisle, each step a heavy thump toward the dais where my dreams dissolved. Back in the hotel suite, glass walls aglow with afternoon sun, my bridesmaids gathered around me. My father sank into a velvet chair. He left you like this? His voice broke. I nodded, makeup streaming. Just a text. Selena glared at her phone. He texted you? You're supposed to be bride for the day? Harper slammed her palm on the vanity. I'll kill that bastard. They made plans to storm the venue, intimidate the photographer, cancel the cake. I raised my hand. Stop. It's not worth it. I swiped at my face. I want the vendors to get paid. We can't leave them hanging. Selena's lip curled. You'll let them provide your wedding cake to his ex? I blinked. His? Selena, he hasn't told me who he's run off to. My chest twisted. My phone pinged a new text from Jack. Don't look for me. I've moved on. No signature, no name. He'd disappeared. By 3 Ahmed, I'd gathered the contracts, the deposit checks, and compiled a list of vendors: Caterer La Belle Cuisine, Florist Blooms and Company, DJ High Note Entertainment, Photographer Shutter Soul, Bakery Sweet Endings. I clicked through my contacts to find their numbers. My father watched, silent. Are you sure? He asked at last. I nodded. Yes. I called La Belle first. The manager, Rosa, answered in cheerful Spanish. Señorita Rivera, we are ready for your gala. I cleared my throat. Rosa, I need a favor. She paused. Of course, señora. What can I do? I swallowed. Please deliver the entire wedding menu, 4 appetizers, buffet, desserts, to 19 Applewood Drive, at 6 p.m. Ed. Do not deliver there until then. Her gasp came through the line. That's the home address of Mr. Sinclair's new fiancé. I held my breath. Yes, please include the cake, the champagne, everything, and a note saying, congratulations on your special day, with compliments of La Belle Cuisine on behalf of the bride. I let that settle. Can you do that? She relaxed. Absolutely, with pleasure. May I send you a confirmation email? I exhaled. Please, and hung up. Next, I called Blooms and Company and arranged for the bouquets and table centerpieces to be repurposed as corsages and boutonnieres at the fiancé's party. I asked DJ High Note to skip my canceled reception and spin tracks at the ex's celebration under the same booking. I even notified Shutter Soul to show up in full wedding day garb, camera, lenses, flash, and snap candid shots at 19 Applewood Drive. I left Sweet Endings a voicemail. Please deliver the wedding cake to our former venue at closing time free of charge to celebrate new beginnings. Then I closed my planner, penned the time on my wrist so I could watch. My father stared as I collected my purse. You're doing this? His voice trembled with pride and horror. I inhaled. Yes, we paid these people. They agreed to be here. They deserve to earn their fees. I tapped the fancy gold keychain, and he deserves a taste of his own medicine. My bridesmaids erupted in cheers when I told them. We high-fived, tears of laughter and relief. At 5:45 p.m. Ed. I arrived at the botanical garden alone, clutching my grandmother's locket. I slipped past the caterer's tent into the empty alcove where our ceremony had been held. White chairs still gleamed in rows, draped fabric fluttering. I let my fingers brush a petal on the arch's wisteria as La Belle's vans pulled up 19 Applewood Drive, an unassuming brick house down the road where Jack's new girlfriend lived. I hid behind a magnolia tree as the caterers unpacked silken linens, crystal glasses, and steaming chafing dishes. The florist arrived to pin corsages onto surprised partygoers. The DJ set up speakers on the patio. The photographer positioned her flash under the overhang. I watched their confusion bloom into delight, snapping photos for my scrapbook as the first bites were taken. A delicate goat cheese, tartlet, rosemary chicken, gourmet mac and cheese. I stayed in the shadows until the clock ticked 6 p.m. Ed. Then sent a final text to Jack. Enjoy your reception. Wish I was there. Love, your canceled bride. My phone pinged almost instantly. You're horrible, read the reply. I threw the phone to the ground and watched it shatter across the pavement. I felt something light inside me, exhilaration, empowerment, relief. I didn't care what he thought. That evening, I watched social media posts flood in selfies at 19 Applewood Drive. Champagne flutes raised, bouquets passed around like prized raffle tickets. I scrolled past the actress turned bartender Jack's girlfriend had hired, video bombing her date as she sipped rosé. Comments: best party ever. Who knew Jack could throw down? Congrats, girl. They didn't know who'd paid for it all. By the time the caterers packed up and the chairs were stacked, I was back at the garden, alone under the arbor where I should have been walking down the aisle. The breeze whispered in the trees. I ran my hand over the locket at my throat. My grandmother's gift for good times and bad. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow Jack would call, furious. He'd demand everything. The vendors would invoice him. He'd realize the costs of betrayal, not just emotional, but financial, social, and most of all, personal. He'd discover that sometimes the best revenge isn't petty or vindictive. It's simply moving forward, fully aware that the world you built can follow you anywhere. I pocketed the shattered phone, dusted off my gown, which I'd left folded in the back of my car, and walked toward the garden exit. A firefly blinked at my wrist. I smiled. The night was still young. My heart was still whole. And as I stepped into the darkness, I felt my grandmother's laughter in the air, free, joyous, unbounded. Because I learned that day, when someone cancels your wedding without warning, you don't beg them to reconsider. You take back your power, one course at a time, and you toast to the future, with or without them. The next morning, 19 Applewood Drive looked like the set of some surreal wedding reception. Chairs were stacked neatly against the patio wall. The DJ's speakers were still draped in silk tablecloths, and the catering trucks bearing La Belle Cuisine's logo were lined up like parked chariots. I walked up the driveway feeling oddly triumphant, my dress from the aborted ceremony folded carefully in a garment bag, my grandmother's locket heavy at my throat. The sun was bright, but it all looked tinted through the lens of last night's retribution. I unlocked the side gate, slipped past the florist's abandoned blooms, and found the caterers loading empty chafing dishes back into the truck. Rosa, the manager, spotted me and waved. "Señorita Rivera," she called, setting down a stack of silver platters. "What a night, eh?" I grinned, holding out a small envelope. "Thank you for everything. I have your final payment and a little bonus for overtime." I handed her the envelope of cash I'd prepared, enough for the full menu plus a 20% tip. Her eyes widened. She hugged me. "Muchas gracias. You are very kind." She kissed my cheek. "We will never forget your generosity." I tracked across the patio to the florist, who was carefully disassembling corsages with the precision of a surgeon. I handed her a check. For the flowers and for saving them from wilt. She giggled and accepted it, wiping a tear. "Thank you, Charlotte." I never expected a wedding party to look like that. I shrugged, life's full of surprises. Walking past the DJ, who was disassembling his turntable, I paused. "Thank you too, for spinning those tracks." He gave me a thumbs up. "Anytime you need music, just let me know." I collected the last of the day's receipts, feeling the warmth of small victories. Every vendor I'd rerouted had thanked me not just for the money, but for respecting their time. I'd worried my stunt might burn bridges. Instead, I'd built goodwill in a day. Back home, I tucked the garment bag in my closet and changed into jeans and a t-shirt. I sat at the kitchen table, pulling out my phone to check messages. There they were, from Jack. "I can't believe you did that. You owe me." From his mother, "Charlotte, dear, what happened? I heard there was no wedding. Please call." From my father, "Proud of you, sweetheart. You stood up for yourself." From Harper, "I saw the news, well done, badass." Lunch today? From the Botanical Garden, "We're so sorry again. We've comped your ceremony fee. Please consider a private vow renewal on us." I took a deep breath. The world seemed oddly bright then. I replied to my dad. "Thanks, Dad. Love you," to the garden. "Thank you, I'll take you up on that." And to Harper, lunch. "Yes, I need coffee." I ignored Jack's message. I would get to him in due time. That afternoon, Harper met me at our favorite cafe, worn leather booths, mismatched teacups, the best lavender honey latte, this side of the river. I sank into the booth across from her and closed my eyes, letting the steam fog my glasses. "How are you doing?" she asked, voice softer than I expected. She'd come armed with a cinnamon bun the size of a toddler's fist. "I swear, who needs a groom when you have carbs?" I snorted and wiped my glasses. "I'm okay. I feel powerful strangely." I tore off a chunk of pastry, and exhausted. Between the vendor shuffle and decoding my phone, I haven't slept. She nodded sympathetically. Well, you've got to rest, but damn Charlotte, that was epic. My Instagram blew up, people calling you a mastermind. I ate a bite, I just didn't want them to lose money. I paused. I also didn't want him to get away without consequences. Harper leaned back. Rightfully so. You gave him a taste of heartbreak. Now what? I stared out the window. Traffic. Pedestrians. The old brick church where I dreamt of walking down the aisle. Tomorrow? I said, I'm going to call him. I need to tell him the wedding's off for good, and that I'm never planning to be disposable. She reached across and squeezed my hand. You got this. That evening, I paced my living room in heels and a cocktail dress because Jack had requested an urgent dinner at our favorite bistro under the pretense of closure. I'd RSVP'd for 2 and left him to think I'd still show. When I arrived, candlelight flickered across the tables and our reservation sat empty. I ordered a glass of Prosecco extra bubbly to match my nerves and texted Jack, I'm here. Where are you? I watched the bubbles climb in my flute, waiting. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. My Prosecco warmed. I flagged the waiter and ordered another full glass. Finally, my phone buzzed. Change of plans. I'll swing by later. See you at home. My throat closed. I pressed send. I'll come home soon. Then I drained the Prosecco and left. In my apartment's hallway, my phone rang. It was Jack. The call connected on the second ring. Where are you? He demanded. I let out a breath. Home, he yelled. His first really angry shout since the cancellation. What the hell are you doing? You can't just ghost me. I leaned against the wall. I'm not ghosting you. I'm telling you this once. Don't call me again. The wedding's off. I felt tears sting, but my voice stayed steady. I sent a note to the garden. They're offering us a free vow renewal if we ever want to do this right. But I won't be doing it with you, he sputtered. You can't, I cut him off. I already did. A letter slammed shut in my chest. I hope you're happy at your girlfriend's place with all the flowers and music I paid for. Goodbye, Jack. I hung up. That night, I slept without nightmares. Finally, over the next weeks, life settled into a new normal. My phone's ringtone changed back to Mom's call, and not bride prep. I went back to teaching, my classroom buzzing with third-grade chatter. Parents noticed the glint in my eyes when I passed them in the hall. I held bake sales with renewed vigor. I organized the end-of-year carnival with unmatched enthusiasm because I realized I could invest my energy where it mattered most, with my students, my nieces, my friends. Harper and I hosted a red wedding party at my apartment, fairy light canopy in the living room, finger sandwiches, vegan cupcakes, and a playlist of our wedding soundtrack. Over a dozen friends crowded my space, and Harper popped a bottle of champagne. To Charlotte, whose wedding was wildest of all, she toasted. Glasses clinked, laughter echoed off the walls, and I felt the warmth of chosen family. Midway through Can't Help Falling in Love, Harper nudged me. Dance? I slipped my sneakers off and danced barefoot in the living room, the lace of my old gown swirling like memories. I twirled, felt every burden lift. I feel free, I said, eyes shining. She nodded, tears in hers. You are. One day, 2 months after the wedding cancellation, my phone buzzed with an unrecognized number. I answered cautiously. Charlotte, the voice was soft, familiar. It's Janice from La Belle Cuisine. My heartbeat skipped. We're catering a charity gala next month. Heard you owe us your menu. We'd love to work with you, this time as a special guest rather than a sabotaged bride. I laughed, disbelief and delight swirling. Janice. Yes, please let me book you. I rattled off dates and menu tweaks. Oh, and I have an idea for an appetizer. I booked the gala slot immediately. Then, minutes later, a second call from Shuttersoul. Charlotte, got your note about our services. We'd be honored to photograph your next event. My eyes watered with pride. And then Jack's number popped up. I stared at it, thumb hovering over disconnect. I thought of that text. You're horrible, and the dozens of others he'd never sent. I pressed ignore. As spring rolled into summer, I found myself walking back to the botanical garden, the site of my would-be wedding, this time with my niece Zoe, on my shoulders. She'd just turned 5 and wanted to reenact my flower girl duties. The rows of white chairs were gone. The arbor stood silent, vines in full bloom. We laughed as I whispered, "Okay, Zoe, you toss the petals." She giggled and let a handful drift, petals pirouetting in the breeze. A familiar figure approached. Mrs. Delgado, my childhood neighbor and confidant. "Hello, darling," she said, arms open. "I heard there's a mini wedding in progress." I kissed her cheek. My niece insisted. She beamed at Zoe, who giggled and stirred the air with pink blossoms. Mrs. Delgado's gaze drifted to the arbor. "You look happy." She studied me kindly. "I remember when you first told me about Jack. He was smitten, then less so." She patted my hand. "I'm proud of you. You reclaimed your joy." I leaned against the arbor. I didn't know I could feel so at peace, even here. My voice caught. "Like you said, home is where you make it." She nodded. "Exactly." That evening, I hosted a small community potluck in the garden's gazebo. Teachers from my school, caterers from LaBelle, florist from Blooms and Company, DJ from the Wedding Fiasco, and many more who'd pitched in after my canceled day. We feasted on gourmet appetizers, local wines, and homemade casseroles, all under string lights that glowed like fireflies. I welcomed each guest, my grandmother's locket sparkling at my throat. We shared stories, how cancellations can lead to new beginnings, how kindness fortifies even brittle situations. When the DJ spun "Here Comes the Sun," we all sang along. I closed my eyes and let the vibrations fill me. No regrets, no what-ifs, just this. Weeks later, I received an unexpected invitation from Jack. A white envelope, my name scrawled in tidy block letters. Inside, a single line, "Would you meet for coffee? I owe you an apology." I folded the note, tapped my lower lip. Part of me seethed, part of me curiously ached. But I realized I didn't need that final confrontation. I'd gained so much more: self-respect, friendships, a business of my own. I'd even started a Mend Your Heart workshop series for brides, to be who wintered in their own heartbreak. I crumpled the note and tucked it in the recycling bin, then turned to greet my morning's first student, my third grade class clamoring at the door. I'd show up to teach with a full heart. Because sometimes the most empowering gesture is showing up for yourself and letting the past stay in the past. As the bell rang, I smiled wide, picking up chalk and erasing outdated lessons for new ones. Resilience, self-love, and the surprising sweetness of sending caterers to your ex's doorstep. The future was bright, and I was finally ready for every page.